discrimination, a lot of bullying, etc., because my nan was very, very Irish.
Mhm.
And the name that the name that we had before, obviously, my mum married my dad was O'Connor. So, it's a very Irish name, hence
Yes.
my name as well. Noel, it's an Irish name. So was I a victim of bullying? I don't like to say that because I just think it's just part of growing up.
Yep.
It's hurty words. I stood up for myself, and I believe that it made me the man that I am. But I didn't sit around feeling sorry for myself, and I didn't play the victim or anything, Jack. But what I did do, I joined the British Army
Mm.
to prove to myself and to prove to others that I am committed to this country.
Thank you, Noel. Tell me, in which situations?
Guys, the new puzzle game Royal Kingdom just launched, and it's the follow-up to Royal Match, but the games are different. Kingdom has King Richard, while
Are you at your most confident?
I think when I'm representing the people,
Yeah.
I think is when I'm most confident. Because I kind of have to be. I fit into that role. Where I am speaking on behalf of people that can't speak for themselves. And I see kind of if I am fortunate enough to be elected by the people of Hemel Hempstead, that I can be their voice.
Mm.
So I think that that's where I have to fit into that role of being confident and being really conclusive in my arguments and what I'm actually saying to get the best possible outcomes for the people that elect me.
Thank you. And let's flip it around. When you're at your least confident?
I suppose when I'm on my own. When I'm on
Mm.
my own and, that voice in the head starts and then you start doubting yourself.
Uh-huh.
So I think that those are probably the times when I'm sort of at my least confident, when I stop from all the madness that I'm involved in and I'm actually sitting there and I'm actually reflecting on what it is that I'm doing. And you do question yourself, with this litigation that I've been involved in, going through this painful procedure that I'm going through, you cast those doubts upon yourself.
That's interesting. So you find that when you go into action, when you're doing things, you're at your best. It's when you're not doing something, when you almost have to go into your thoughts, that's when you feel you're least capable. But actually, for you, you're at your best when you're actually doing, when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, exactly. When
Mm.
you're in the thick of it, and I think that's what I've been trained to do, really, Jack.
Mm.
The army doesn't teach you about that bit when you're on your own, but the army
Yeah.
teaches you, your fight and flight when you're actually in that situation, because the training's so tough. You know, when I joined it was exceptionally tough. When you go
Yes.
to places like Brecon Beacons and Dartmoor and all the rest of it, and you're getting put through all these simulations of training that you're going through, it's very, very tough. So you're in
Yeah.
that moment, and you kind of have to get on with it.
Body language is very focused. He makes a lot of direct eye contact. Perhaps could be described as intense. Not so much as erratic. Not losing his train of thought. I'm also thinking, because I also type in the Enneagram, about what Enneagram type he might be, and immediately clued onto gut types, looking at the 1 and the 8, and I don't think he's a 1. I don't think he's passionate about, his causes, but I think he's too upfront, too much in your face to be the 1. The 1 is more stately, if you will.
But they don't teach you about that bit when you're actually on your own and then you're thinking about it. Hence why we have such an issue with the armed forces and PTSD, because it's that bit when you're on your own, you've gone out there, you've lived life at such a high octane level.
Yes.
And he's emphasizing what he's talking about, what the army trained him to do. He's emphasizing the role he was trained for, as opposed to his own innate capability to do whatever the fuck he wants. Another thing that seems to suggest to me an ambiversive sort of LSI rather than an SLE. Very comfortable playing a role, very comfortable being a bit part in the system.
Every day that you're going out of, I mean, it's the life, unless you've done it, people just don't understand. Every day that you're going out of the gate and you're carrying a loaded weapon, and then you come back to just reality, just to maybe, and I don't need to disrespect anybody here, but like driving a train or a bus or something like that, but you've lived life at such a high octane level that you come back, and it's that bit when you stop, which is when probably the demons kick in.
See. Thank you. And what did you most enjoy, or what I'm trying to say, what do you most enjoy about being an Army Reservist?
Definitely the discipline. You know, it's definitely the discipline, the values, and the standards is what it's taught me. And I think that it's definitely made me the man that I am today, and I believe that it's made me respect others as well, regardless of your race, color, or creed. It's definitely made me respect others, because that's what the Army teaches you. The Army has taught me so many skills, lifelong skills, that I've carried on into my civilian life in terms of organisation, implementing systems, all that sort of stuff. You know, we always operate in the military from a very sort of basic level, because if you get your basic fundamentals correct, you can go off and do the more technical stuff.
Yeah.
But I used to always think to myself, why are we doing just continuous platoon attack, company attack? I've done it hundreds of times. Why am I doing a section attack? Why do I keep doing that? And then it kind of all drops. The penny dropped. If you get your basics absolutely correct, then when it comes to doing the more technical stuff like the contact drills, vehicle contact drills, all that sort of stuff, everything kind of falls into place a lot quicker.
I see. So that sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, like you're someone who, you like being in the thick of it, you like doing things, and where actually when things are varying to a certain degree, that's better than if it's the same thing every single day. But you've also realized that simply by doing it repeatedly, that's enabled you to build up a sort of instinctual level of in what you're doing, which was ultimately the most rewarding part.
Resilience, I think.
Resilience.
It's that resilience, and I believe that mental robustness when you're worn out, tired, you know, when you've had sleep deprivation, when you're cold, wet, and tired. That's when the DS, which is directive staff, that they're really looking at you, to see the decisions that you're going to make, to see whether or not you're going to be, you know, given the honour of becoming one of the commanders of, you know, at the time, Her Majesty's Armed Forces. So, yeah, I think it was that resilience and mental robustness, and they kind of take you right to the edge. And they really, really do. And when you move on to the more technical stuff, like something called LFTT, which is your live firing tactical training, that's a simulation that the British Army, it's a simulation that the British Army runs. And what it does, it takes you as close to war as what they can possibly take you in a safe environment, because you're using live ammunition. And it's 360 degrees. So it's your awareness of where, you know, the man is next to you. It's your awareness of what's in front of you. It's all that sort of, you know, thinking about muzzle clearance. All these sorts of things are the skills that you learn.
Makes sense. What do you find most difficult about being in the military?
As I alluded to before, I think definitely then times when you've got to sit there and reflect on what has just happened. You know, I think you doubt yourself a lot as a commander. Have I made the right decisions? Because ultimately,
which is telling us,
when you become a commander or a
about
non-commissioned officer,
his introspection,
you're going to make decisions that's going to affect the rest of people's lives.
Yes.
It's a very, very big responsibility that you're given. And right then, what I learned about the Army is that no one's going to second guess the decision that you make. Nobody's going to say to you, that is the right or the wrong decision. Even when you go through Brecon, you know, when you do your command courses in Brecon, even when the staff debrief you, there's never a right or a wrong decision. It's just maybe what could we have done better?
Yes.
And I think that that's how I, you know, when I go to court or whenever I do a TV appearance or, you know, I do an interview or whatever, I always think to myself, what could I do better? And I think as long as you're honest with people, you can't go wrong.
Mm.
No matter how painful that truth is going to be, you just got to be truthful and open and honest. And then I think the public will buy into you because you're not avoiding or evading those questions. And they don't see a robot in front of them. They see another human being. And I think that that's what people want right now, Jack. They want people, real people, not robots who've got everything scripted in front of them. Make mistakes. It's fine. There's no problem to make mistakes, but learn from your mistakes.
Makes sense. What qualities, Noel, do you
have anything, any observations to point out? What do you think about LSI or SLE at this point? Perhaps DJ is in a point where he can't talk. All right. Feel free to chime in if you have some comments.
admire in other people, but do not have yourself?
What other qualities do I admire? That's a really interesting question. Let's take Charlie Kirk, for example. I think I've got courage.
Sure.
I don't even have a teaspoon of what Charlie Kirk has got. In terms of courage, I definitely admire those qualities in people. Having that courage to speak your mind, no matter how uncomfortable those hidden truths are going to be.
Was this released before Charlie Kirk was assassinated? September the 10th. Okay, what date is this on Jack's channel? Oh, it's close. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. That's probably after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Okay. All right.
Well, no, you did say just before that you're about being open and honest, no matter how hard the truth is.
Yes.
So what is the difference there between you and Charlie? Is it really just degree?
I think it's just having, the courage to, one, I wouldn't have the confidence that he's got to go into a debate not knowing.
Guys, the new puzzle game Royal Kingdom just launched, and it's the follow-up to Royal Match, but the games are different. Kingdom has King Richard.
What it is that you're going to debate. So I think that we all like to be prepared. It's like I came on today with you, Jack. I didn't have a clue what we were talking about.
Sure.
So there's been no preparation to this. This is just literally all off of the cuff. And I think the fact that Charlie was such an intelligent human being, his IQ was just on another planet. He was very articulate, a very holy man as well, an incredibly holy man. Yes. But I mean, he really knew his topic. If he was talking about Israel or he was talking about Gaza, if he was talking about Palestine, he was talking about anything at all, even the Bible, he knew exactly what his facts were.
Yes.
And I think that is definitely a quality in another human being that I really do admire.
Mm-hmm. How are you at getting across large amounts of information quickly?
In a subject that I know.
In a subject you know versus something you don't know.
When something that I don't know, I would be honest. And I wouldn't bluff my way through it, and I wouldn't puff my way through it. I would just be honest. And I would say, to be honest with you, I don't really know. And that would be the God's gospel truth. Like if somebody asked me about, the ins and outs of what's going on in Ukraine, I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on in Ukraine. So I'm not going to comment on it. I'm more concerned with what's going on here in the United Kingdom. And I know that Ukraine is a huge issue for a lot of people. Putin is a huge issue for a lot of people, but I think we've got bigger issues here, such as the systemic rape of young children. So I think that is a huge issue that's not being addressed. And I think we need to divert our attention to what's actually going on here as opposed to what's actually going on in other countries.
Yes.
We've got too many problems here. So when it comes to getting large amounts of information across, the jury's out on that. And when I say that, the jury is literally out, because what I'm finding in court, I'm not being able to give my expertise or get that amount of information over. So I can't honestly answer that question.
No, fair enough. Thank you. Another question I have, Noel. You said before that you're at your best when you're out there representing the people. Are you someone with a lot of friends?
I keep my circle very, very tight. I'm very selective about my friends because I'm very serious about my role with reform. The friends that are close to me massively respect what I'm doing. And if I go out, it's in a very civilized capacity, because I can't be around people, who might take drugs. I can't be around people that could draw attention to me, for the wrong reasons. So I keep my circle very, very close. I keep my personal life even closer. Because particularly with what's happened with Charlie, and I'm not saying anything, that could possibly in any way compare to what has happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
But when you have a certain view which has been proven, and people don't like that view, I don't know what that person would be capable of doing.
Makes total sense. So it's as much self-defense in terms of your own life as it is of your own sort of political reputation.
Yeah, I mean, the friends that I've got are very, very close friends, and they would do anything for me, and I would do anything for them. And they massively respect, like I say, they hugely respect the position that I'm in with reform. And I take it very seriously, and so do they.
What qualities in these people have caused you to draw them closer, to make them your closest friends?
The military connection, that brotherhood. Yeah, definitely, because it's the trust. You see, that's what it is. It's all about, you see it in a lot of the films, like your Black Hawk Downs and all of that. It's all about trusting the man next to you, man or woman.
Yeah.
It's all about trusting that individual next to you. So the friends that I have they definitely come from that military background.
Thank you. See, so outside of the political environment, the issues and causes that you are fighting, and outside of the bullies that you are holding to account, what do you like to do with yourself? What are your hobbies, Noel?
What do I like to? I like to keep myself in shape. I like to keep fit.
Yeah.
I love to watch TV. When I get home from a hard day's work, I love to just unwind. If I can get into a series, what am I watching at the moment? Atomic. Love Gangs of London. I've thrashed Gangs of London. The 3 seasons there. Proper boys series, that is, isn't it? It's a proper boys series. Loads of shooting, violence, all that sort of stuff. So I love that. A lot of chilling out, and then I love to spend a lot of time with my friends, and my family as well.
What have some of the people who are very close to you, whether that's family, whether that's your partner, whether that's anything else, what have they been able to provide to you that's been of such benefit to you, and areas which have been more difficult for you?
Self-belief. That's what they've been able to give me. The support, and those people know who they are. The support that I've been given is unbelievable. In fact, I would go as far to say it's probably the people that I've got close to me inspire me to do more.
Mm. How do they do that? How do they inspire you?
They inspire me by sort of saying, look, we need more men like you. And, you know, I believe that masculinity has taken a huge tumble here in the UK. I think men have massively lost their direction and where they fit in society. So I'm proud to be a man. That doesn't mean that I dislike women. It doesn't mean, you know, that I'm misogynistic or anything. You know,
Yeah.
I love women. You know, I came from a single parent house. You know, my mum raised me along with my nan. And I have huge amounts of respect for women. So, but being a man is very important to me. And I believe that we need a lot more male role models in society.
Thank you. So we haven't actually covered the child maintenance scandal. So
No.
how were you drawn into that?
Okay, so I had a child from a very, very brief encounter, shall we say. And the child support agency got involved in my life. I didn't even know that my daughter had been born. I just received a letter from the child support agency, and they were asking me some very, very personal information. And firstly, I never even heard of these people. So I phoned them up, spoke to them, they explained the situation to me, and they basically said that you got to pay. So that was my first encounter with the child support agency. And then subsequently, to get contact, I went through the courts, found it impossible to get a DNA test, found it impossible to navigate my way through the family court system. And it really is what the mother says goes in court. That is a fact. That's not conjecture. That is an actual statement of fact. And it was a horrific ordeal to go through. Lots of mud being thrown at me by Kafkas. The mother was just routinely breaching court orders. No penal consequences for her actions. And every time that you had to enforce a court order, it cost you more money. So I thought, you know what? This is just a money-making scam. Let's bring this into context here. I'm entrusted to lead men on the battlefield.
Yes.
And I can't take my daughter to the zoo. How does that make any viable sense?
No.
It doesn't make any viable sense, does it?
No.
And that's where we are right now with the family courts. So the child maintenance service, they calculated my income in 2017. But what they did is they calculated my income using my 2015, 2016 self-assessment. So it was basically a cherry-picked income because it was the higher rate of tax that I had paid.
Yeah.
So immediately I tried to appeal against that decision to absolutely no avail. And the way that you are treated by the child maintenance service is absolutely disgusting. The minute you challenge anything with them, they immediately give you a stamp that you're non-compliant. Then they start their whole enforcement procedure against you, which then led me into my investigations. I started looking at National Audit Office reports. I started looking and researching various select committees. And very, very quickly, I established that people like the National Audit Office were on public record stating that parents are pursued for debts where there's no evidence to substantiate that they owe. Now, the real darker side to this.
Diagnosed with Crohn's disease and struggling with your symptoms? It's not too soon to talk to your doctor about Entyvio for
was a report that I read by a Brian Hudson, who is very good with data. And through a series of Freedom of Information requests that he had made to the Department of Work and Pensions, because the Child Maintenance Service comes under the Department for Work and Pensions, there was a very, very high mortality rate, extremely high mortality rate amongst paying parents, we were roughly losing about 5 paying parents a day who were on the CMS's books. Now, is that coincidence that they've all got bad health?
Probably not.
Because what we can't get the birth, sorry, not the birth certificates, the death certificates. We can't get copies of death certificates. The CMS will not release that information because, of course, what is the cause of death on a death certificate? Potentially, it could be suicide. Now, I'm not saying that it is, but potentially it could be. So that's what started my whole campaign with the CMS, and I've been working with Anne Widdecombe on this. She sees that there's a huge problem here. Reform sees that there's a huge problem here. It took me a while to, get Richard Tice on board when he was the leader of Reform before Nigel came back. And eventually, I will never forget his words to the day that I die. I was on a Zoom call with him, and I was on a Zoom call with Nick Dark.
Yeah.
And we were on with Richard Tice. And his exact words were, if you did not see this, you would not believe it. We're talking billions upon billions of pounds that have been taken from paying parents of money that they've never owed. So where is that money going? Where is that money going? And then if we look back to when the transition happened from the Child Support Agency to the Child Maintenance Service, in that transitional period, I found something which was very, very alarming, which is where the director of the CMS was called Noel Shanahan. And at that select committee hearing, there was a legacy of debt of £4 billion, 3.78 billion, something like that. So there was a legacy of debt that was on this old CSA account.
Yes.
And he said, figure's not accurate. And why is that then? Because there's a tactic and a lever the Child Support Agency used to inflate incomes by 300%. That would inflate your income by 300% to scare you into contacting them. But of course, then what happened?
Yeah.
When the paying parent, gave the Child Support Agency its correct pay information.
Yes.
They never adjusted the arrears.
Yeah.
So those arrears. So if you were paying £100 a week, the system would think that you were paying the extra £200 a week. So the system was occurring those arrears in the arrears balance of £200, and that grew, which a lot of testimony that I've read have all stated that these are fictitious arrears, but they're collecting that money. And they're using their enforcement powers to collect that money.
Right.
So it's a very similar, but on a much larger scale, to the post office scandal.
Okay.
I hope I explained that right.
I think I look. You are the expert in this rather than I am. It sounds to me as though they are making use of people in quite vulnerable situations in order to extract as much money as possible. That's what it sounds like.
Well, the very troubling thing that I keep reading, this money is collected. I know that it's collected because if you read the National Audit Office reports, they are collecting this money. But the big issue is the money that's been collected is not being paid to the receiving parent.
Fascinating, yeah. So the question is, where is the, as you say, where is the money going?
Where is the money going? And when I say to you, I have put this information out here in the public domain. I could be held liable for what I'm saying. Have I ever been challenged, Jack? No. I've said it on all forums.
Interesting.
GB News, Reform TV. I've said it on all forums, and nobody has said to me, "Hold on a minute, you're putting misinformation out."
Yeah.
I haven't put any misinformation out because this is all stuff in the National Audit Office reports. Now, who is the National Audit Office? They audit government bodies. That's what they do. That's their job.
I got another question, just to switch tack, Noel. When did you decide that you'd like to go into politics? From your time in the military, from time being a scaffolder? What made you want to make that switch?
That's a really good question. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, because if you look at all the wrongs that are out there, you're never going to be able to fix them. No matter how, the only people who have the real power here in this country, and it's just the way that our democracy works, are the members of parliament. They're the only people that can affect change.
Yeah.
You could have all the influencers in the world, people like Andrew Tate and all of these people who've got millions of followers. But what can they actually change? They can't change anything.
Take the next step in treating your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis with Entyvio, the only gut-focused treatment for UC that helps block inflammation in the gut and works right where you need it. Now is the time to talk with your doctor about the results you want, rapid response, and for many people, visible improvement of the gut lining. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. Although unlikely, PML, a rare brain infection that can result in death, cannot be ruled out. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, sores, or are prone to infections. Liver problems can occur. Learn more about the only treatment for UC that works right where you need it. And ask your doctor about gut-focused Entyvio, including the Entyvio pen.
Gut-focused Entyvio.
So unless you actually get elected, you can't change a single thing. So all that's going to happen is, if we keep voting Labour and Conservative, we're just going to get plenty more of what we've already got.
Makes sense. And how long ago did you make that decision?
So, sorry, I didn't actually answer your question, did I? So when did I decide? So I think I first stood for reform in county council elections. It might have been maybe May 2021, something like that, maybe 2022. Okay. So it was when the party, when the party was very, very new. When was it? Was it 21 or 22? I can't remember.
I think it was around, but going back to 2019. I think it was in the Brexit party form back then.
Yeah, so it was a Brexit party, and then I think maybe a reform late 2021, maybe early 2022.
Yeah, about then.
Reform was actually formed. I just had a quick look at their policies, and I thought, you know what, this is something that I want to, get my teeth stuck into. But I never thought that I never ever in a million years did I envisage that I would stand in a general election.
Fair enough. Where do you see things going from here in the next, let's say, 10 years?
What, this country?
This country, or your life, where you want to take it?
Well, firstly, I mean, if Reform is not elected as the next government, I don't think we're going to have a country left. And that is the God's gospel truth. On this trajectory that we're currently on at the moment, I think on an economic state, I think we're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
And I think if someone doesn't come in with a different idea that this country is going to collapse and it's going to buckle. I mean, it's buckling already under the weight of mass immigration.
Yes.
And that's what we talk about, is mass immigration, where we've just got large volumes of people just coming in willy-nilly into this country. Everybody seems to think, that we're fascists and, all of these names that we get called by the mainstream media. We don't see a problem with immigration, but it's got to be sensible.
Yes.
So we don't actually see a problem with that. So I just think in 10 years' time, if we don't change the course of direction that we're going in, the direction of travel, I don't think that we're going to have a country left. In 10 years' time, where do I want to be in 10 years' time? I want to have my own family, Jack. I'm at a point in my life now where I think I've given so much to my country. I'm going to be a little bit selfish, and I want my own family.
That makes sense, and I think all power to you in doing that. In terms of setting up a family, how would you like to be as a father?
I would want to be a role model for my children and make my children believe that anything is achievable and anything is possible. If I look at my own life, my life started in a council flat. My mum worked very hard, got us out of that situation. She became very successful in Vodafone. So I was very lucky, very, very fortunate, but we did start, in a council flat. And what I've learned is if you work hard and you follow your dreams, you can achieve. And that's what I did. And I took the risk back in 2016, 2017. I can't remember when it was. And that's when I opened my company, Elevation Access Scaffolding. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that's been going close to nearly 10 years now, you know, fully audited accounts, all that sort of stuff. But in business, what I've learned about business, you will never reach a cap. You know, you reach a sort of cap and then you kind of got to go again. And you got to go again, and you know you get to that sort of turnover or whatever it is, and then you kind of got to go again, because you just stay where you are, or do you really grow? Because at the end of the day, no tree or plant or whatever it is going to grow without water.
Makes sense. And so for you, really, it's continuously shifting your own goalposts for your own success.
Well, we have one life. We don't have a dress
Yeah.
rehearsal.
Yeah.
That you know, we don't get to come back and do it all again like it's a bad pantomime. You know, we get one life, and you got to make the best of that opportunity. Life is very sacred. Life is very, very precious, and you get one life. And you got to go out there. You got to live your dreams. You got to do as many. People always say to me, "God, no, you do so many things." There's no law that says that I can't.
Yep. I got one other question. Putting aside the bullies, putting aside, the people who abuse their power, what other things tend to frustrate and irritate you about people?
Diagnosed with Crohn's disease and struggling with your symptoms? It's not too soon to talk to your doctor about Entyvio for moderate to severe Crohn's and learn about the results you need, including rapid symptom relief and long-term remission.
Laziness.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand lazy people.
Yep.
They sit around feeling sorry for themselves, that they're a victim of society. Do you know what? Have a bit of man-up juice. Get a grip of yourself. Get out there and make something of your life. Because listen, you've got two options. If things are not going great for you, and listen, we all have to deal with issues and problems. I don't know anybody who doesn't have issues and problems. Some bigger than others, some not so big, etc., etc. But the only person who can actually get yourself out of that rut, guess what, is you. And being dependent on the state, that's a form of control. They're controlling every aspect of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just not for me. And I can't understand why you would want to be controlled by the state. Because ultimately, yet again, that is communism, isn't it? They want to control every element of your life. And I don't want that for myself.
Makes sense. Well, Noel, it's been a pleasure interviewing.